AJ McCarron unconscious. McCarron into the hands of Butler. Case and Blood. Butler, you're not gonna catch me. For McCarron on a record-setting day and more. Battlehawks ain't done yet.
You know, ever since I came out of college, I've been kind of counted out a little bit, and you know, it's just fun to come out here and play.
Don't call it a comeback.
AJ McCarron is back.
Yep, roll tide. The three-time BCS champion and NFL vet is making his comeback in the XFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
Also, the Eagles moves over to draft weekend, has us thinking about a possible Super Bowl comeback. Plus, it's Mother's Day right around the corner. From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
You know what I want for Mother's Day? Eagles, Steelers, Super Bowl. I'm Dave Damashek.
Mother's Day is not for you. And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Hey, Shay, let's get into AJ McCarron and his comeback.
As you wish, Shazier. Yeah, AJ was a three-time national champ as the QB at Bama, but when he tore his ACL in training camp with the Falcons in 2021, his football career appeared to be finished. This year, though, he made his comeback playing QB for the St. Louis Battlehawks of the Rock's new and improved XFL.
3rd and 7. McCarron has a receiver.
AJ burst onto the scene with a dramatic comeback win in Week 1, but his comeback didn't stop there. No, McCarron led the Battlehawks to a 7-3 record and led the league in touchdowns. Let's welcome it in right now, shall we? The star QB of the St. Louis Battlehawks. Here with us, AJ McCarron. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for making the time.
Appreciate y'all having me.
What's up, AJ? What's up, AJ?
What's up, Ryan?
So you're the two-time national champion at Alabama, which I'm a little bit salty about, which is a dominating program. What was the transition to the NFL like for you?
I think the biggest thing, you know, coming from the SEC was really not so much the speed. It was like, you know, there was times where we played LSU during my days, and, you know, I think at one point on their defense, they had 11 guys that were all played in the NFL. So, and most of them ended up being starters. So I think it was just getting used to, from an offensive standpoint for me, was the ball being towards the middle of the field most of the game, which I talk to younger guys about, like, different from college and people that want to talk football. Like, college hashes being so far apart allow you as a quarterback to see blitzes and coverages happen a lot quicker because they have so much more ground to cover. When the ball's in the middle of the field, defenses are able to disguise a lot more and play a lot more games with you. So for me, you know, I think that was the biggest thing. And then, of course, being in our division we were in, facing a lot of teams that were played a 3-4 defense, especially y'all, and having you at the mic, and then guys like James Harrison on the edge, and figuring out, you know, college, you didn't face a whole lot of 3-4. So most of it was 4-down base defense. So from a scheme standpoint, that took some time, but yeah, I'd say that just the hashes and getting used to the disguise of defenses was, you know, probably my biggest transition part.
Okay, so before we get to the XFL stuff, we're telling the backstory here. I can't imagine why Shazier's salty about the Tide winning a national championship. How about McCarron going from Tuscaloosa into basically your backyard there, 5-0, moving not too far for Columbus, Ohio? I guess that, you know, to the victor go the spoils, right?
Yeah, I know, man. It's just he beat us. He beat us in Alabama. Well, not beat us, but they hurt us watching him win at Alabama, and then he goes to our rival at Cincinnati. So it was tough.
Take that. So okay, AJ, in 21, you tear your ACL in the preseason with the Atlanta Falcons. At that point, then, given the ground you had covered between Tuscaloosa and the NFL, where's your head at that moment?
Going through an injury from the first time that had put me out a whole season. I had played through many injuries throughout my career, and but had never been knocked out for a full year. So from a mental standpoint, and I think Ryan will be able to definitely speak on this, but from a mental standpoint, I think that's the toughest thing about injuries is being able to push through it mentally rather than the physical part's going to come. It might take more time than what you're used to, but your body will heal over time. And so for me, just being out that year, but also at the same time, like I think it was a true blessing from the man above, because it made me, I got to spend a lot of time with my kids, which I have 3 boys, and I haven't been able to spend that amount of time with them. And, all season goes by so quick. And before you know it, we're right back into OTAs and camp and everything else in the league. So being able to coach my oldest in baseball, coach him in flag football, be around for my middle son, to be able to kind of help him learn the process of playing sports, was something that I, didn't realize how much I would love, and how many times, I've missed and cherished those moments that I get with them, and holidays and everything, birthdays, everything else like that. So, I would think just the mental side of it, really, going through that injury and then falling in love with the sport again, because once I was able to come back and get back into the swing of things, you realize how much you missed the game.
Yes, I completely agree with you when it comes to just the mental side of just injuries, because a lot of times some guys just can't get that out of their head, that they're not the same guy, that they always feel that their injuries stuck them in a place that they don't want to be, and mentally you have to get over that so you can just continue to get by. But a lot of guys kind of get stuck mentally and they never become the same guy. So I can completely agree with you on that. So one thing that's pretty cool with me is the XFL, and you got drafted by the St. Louis Blackhawks. You're selected as in the quarterback round in the start of draft, to set your comeback. What was your initial reaction when you got drafted by the XFL?
Well, it started with AB. Anthony Beck, our head coach, was reaching out to me for a while, and I knew the XFL was coming back. I didn't really know anything about it. And AB reaching out to me multiple times, and if he tells the story, he calls 3 times before I ever called him back. But it was really trying to figure out, all right, what path do I want to take? Do I want to wait it out and wait for guys to get hurt during the season, and then teams will reach out, and I go to some workouts and show them that I'm back healthy? And I did a couple workouts and came close to signing to a couple teams, and it just wasn't the right fit for me, and I guess for them. And then I got to talk to one of your old teammates, Bruce Gorkowski, and B was just hearing him talk. We had been in the same scheme, the West Coast, style scheme from an offensive standpoint, and talking to Bruce was really what kind of persuaded the whole thing. Like, I felt like we saw things the same. From an offensive standpoint, we wanted the same deal. So really talking to him was the deciding factor, and finding out more about him and the type of dude he is and coach he is, really solidified me coming back and, wanting to play. Like, that's the biggest thing, right? Like, when I try to talk about it to guys, even on our team, but playing in the NFL is a dream. And I got to do that for 8 years. But we make a great living doing that, even as a backup. And, I got to start for a while in Cincinnati and play some games in Houston, but and backups being great, and it's great money. But at some point, like, the competitor in you, like, wants to get back out on the field and play. And the ultimate deciding factor for me was my 6-year-old, me coming home one day from rehab and workouts, and my 6-year-old in there working an iPad. These kids can work iPads like it's nothing now. And he had the iPad, and it paired up with our TV in the living room, and he was sitting there watching highlights of me and from Bama and Cincinnati days, and getting to play Ryan when we were in while he was in Pitt. So he basically just said, Dad, I want to, when you get back playing, I want to watch you play. And so for me was, all right, I've made a good living in the 8 years being in the league. I've made plenty of money, for me and my lifestyle. And can I use this year to, inspire my sons to want to push to achieve whatever goal they want in life and just, have an experience that they get to remember, going, traveling, watching Dad play. And then if it works out, go back to the NFL and, trying to compete to play or back up, whatever the role, requires. So for me, it was just an awesome experience to be able to come back and play.
I'm curious. I've always watched and can't argue with the success of Belichick, but I always thought that it diminished the players on the team. Just do what I tell you to do your job and all that kind of stuff, as though you're robots. Do you have at the XFL, is there more buy-in with what you want to do as the quarterback of the team? Are you able to go to the coach and say, I want to do this more than you would have been able to do in the NFL?
I've been blessed to be around a bunch of great OCs. Like Hugh Jackson during my time in Cincinnati was awesome, and me and Hugh J had that relationship when I was starting and for those last 5 games of that year, and getting prepared for the wild card game against Pitt that year. Like I had a bunch of say in those games. So, and then Bruce has been the exact same way. Like I tell you, I can't wait to watch his career grow, because I think he's going to be an unbelievable OC. After this XFL deal, whether it's college or the NFL, but being able to work with him, and he's been a quarterback. He's played the game, which I think is huge. Like when you're able to be with an OC that has played the position and played in the NFL for a while at that position, like it helps a ton, because he throws in his stuff, and then he's like, hey, if the look's not good, I trust you to get out of it and get to whatever you think's good and get us in a better place. So, it's been a blessing to be able to work with Bruce this year and be a part of this whole process with him.
I think it's really important when you get a coordinator or a coach that understands your strengths and understands that you know the game. So you're never going to intentionally pitch you guys in the wrong situation. So I love to hear that Bruce is doing that for you. So The Rock shouted you out saying that your signing to the XFL really meant a lot to him personally. What is your experience with him so far?
Yeah, other than a couple of shout-outs, and my son, my oldest, almost every time I see him ask, have I talked to The Rock, and are we friends? I'm like, listen, but he just talks about me on social media, but I haven't had a chance to actually meet him, which hopefully I'll get that opportunity. But, it's definitely, Ron, it's been an awesome process to be a part of this and to help this league out, because I think this league has a chance to be extremely successful, right? And the one thing that's been a positive, I think, for the league that they haven't done in the past is they're actually kind of teaming up with the NFL. Like in the past, the XFL has always been to fight and go against the NFL. And I think the fact that, you have The Rock and you have Miss Danny a part of it, that them working with the league to make this thing successful is going to help. And being on ESPN and the whole Disney deal from a TV side of it is going to help a ton too. But, I don't know, what the future holds. And maybe I'm back in this situation next year and getting to play again. But this year has been awesome, and it's been fun just to be a part of this whole experience and it coming back for the first time in a couple of years, and ownership's been great too.
How does it hit you, again, back to the competitive stuff? You, in week 1, make a splash. You rally the Battlehawks against the San Antonio Brahmas. And by the way, the names in this league are pretty good. I like that. Do you have a favorite? Cool name for a team?
Yeah, the Battlehawks.
That's a good one. That's a good one. The uniforms are pretty nice. I'm going to sign off on. I'm talking to a guy who chose, I'm sure you had a lot of different options, but you chose to go to Alabama. And I'm talking to another guy who had a lot of options, chose to go to The Ohio State. Were it me, if the world was my oyster, I would go to like Oregon State, where I would be one of one. It's like, yeah, I'm not a part of a lineage of anything. I'm the greatest star of all time. Does it hit you that you may resonate? This is a great personal choice for you and your family, but that you may resonate in a way at the XFL in success, much in the same way that Joe Namath is a big name brand because of the AFL and all the AFL stars of long before any of us walked the earth.
Shek, I've never thought of it that way. The reason I chose to go to Alabama is because we grew up so poor, and we didn't have enough money to do anything at all. And Tuscaloosa was 3.5 hours away from Mobile, so it was easy for my family to drive up.
Wow!
And they could all pile in together and drive up. That's why I chose Alabama. Trust me, the day before I was going to commit to Oklahoma, with Heupel and Coach Stoops and them. So I really the next day kind of changed my mind and went because I knew my family wanted me to go to Alabama. They grew up Alabama fans, and I did not. But and it all worked out. And but yeah, I mean, from an XFL standpoint, like, you know, I'm big on like day to day. Like I never want to get too high. I never want to get too low. I try to stay as level as possible, and that's why I said, like, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if any NFL teams like me, if they like the way I've played this year, whatever it is. It's things that I can't control, and I feel like if you use some mental units on that, you end up just draining yourself and your self energy, worrying about something that you have no control over. So for me, it's just enjoying this time. And then, you know, when the season's over, enjoying some time with the family, and then kind of sitting down and deciding, you know, what the next route is. And like I said, if it leads back to the XFL, I'll be happy and be ready to play and lead a team next year.
One thing that's really cool about the XFL, it has some really unique rules.
Yeah.
And I know you guys had an incredible comeback on the 3-point conversion, which is crazy to me, a 3-point conversion. And then instead of an offside kick, you have a 4th and 15 conversion. Which out of these rules do you think will be a good addition to the NFL?
One, I even think the kickoff deal being 5 yards apart, I think that's something the league will adopt. I think that'll be soon, because you get returns and you cut down on the injury side of it, because guys aren't running so far apart from each other, full steam ahead. But I can see him run the extra point deal. I really can, because that's what the league pushed the extra point back years ago when we were in the league, was because it was almost 100% when it was at its normal length back in the day. And then they wanted to make the game more interesting and have viewers, talk about it more, and that's why they moved it back. And I think at some point they will adopt the extra point, whether it's not all those options and it's just a 3-point option or a 2-point and just having 2 of them. I can see him doing that because it does make the game interesting. And hell, that first week, I think we were down 12-3, and for us to be able to come back in a minute 30 and score, I think we scored 12 points in a minute 30 was pretty nuts, and something that was kind of crazy. So I can see the league adopting that.
I'm just curious, as you're a name brand landing in the XFL. Have you heard any buzz about, would it diminish the league? Or would you be on any level sort of offended if they went after name brand guys who maybe got sideways in the NFL? Guys like, I'm thinking of Johnny Manziel, for instance, or T.O., or I don't know whom, that would be, if nothing else, people would say, I know that name, ergo I'm going to look at it. Is that a thing that you've heard buzz about at all?
I haven't. it's crazy because, I mean, this league's already got a ton of guys that have played in the league. I mean, hell,
Sure.
you got Pro Bowlers. You got Philip Lindsay, who was a Pro Bowler in Denver, and Vic Beasley, who was the NFL sack leader. You got Josh Gordon. I mean, you got guys that have played
Sure.
in the league for a while. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for guys that, and Ron knows this, like when you're in the league and he's been a part of teams where I'm sure, like, when you're a backup for so long, you kind of get lost in the shuffle after just say 3 to 4 years, because if you're not able to play, people forget, kind of scouts forget. They might see you at practice, but they haven't seen you in a game enough. So you kind of get lost in the shuffle with new guys coming in, other vets getting cut off of teams to where, he played last year, so we can bring him in to just be a backup for us this year. So we saw him, like, and they kind of forget about the backups that they already have that are good players. So I think this league allows, those guys that got lost in that shuffle of the league trying to be cheaper by bringing it, paying younger guys because their contracts are less, which soon enough, I mean, those they'll be just as expensive as a vet contract.
Right.
These rookie contracts keep going up $45,000 a year. I think this league just offers a great opportunity for guys that have been lost in the shuffle for whatever reason, injury, off the field issues, and it's been awesome to be a part of that.
Hey, so the last thing before we head out, and I just want to say thank you so much, AJ, for joining us. After closing out the season with the Battlehawks, man, like what's next?
Well, I'm gonna go home and I gotta my oldest, we gotta decide if he's gonna play All Stars or travel ball every once in a while. So I'll be back to coaching some baseball and taking him to some training, and I want to enjoy at least a couple weeks off and kind of, I'll see what my agent says and what he's hearing from teams, if he's hearing anything at all. But I really want to enjoy some time. That's been the hardest thing about this is usually when I'm on an NFL team, my family goes with me for at least up till December, and then they go back home, back to Mobile at the end of December. But with this short amount of time, since it was about 4.5 months, like, they stayed back in Mobile, and I'm living at the team hotel here in Arlington. So not being around them as much on a day-to-day process, because I got in a rhythm where I was picking the boys up, taking them to school, and able to pick them up at 3:00 and taking them to practice and everything. So missing those moments has been tough. Not to see the boys every day, and even FaceTiming the wife at night and telling the boys good night. And my 2-year-old, my youngest, he's already mean as all get out, but he gives me these looks like, I don't even know who you are. So that gets kind of tough sometimes, but for me, it's just enjoying some family time.
That's awesome.
Good for
That's
you.
awesome.
I like that you went to Tuscaloosa so that the family could come and see you regularly, and now you go to the XFL so your boys can see you. Bottom line, before we let you go, I heard the fits and starts of it, the Zoom calls, but has it been what you had hoped it would be in terms of letting your kids get to see the old man in all his glory? Or are they now Battlehawks guys walking around the house and school in Battlehawks jerseys and such?
Well, yeah, like, it really has. It's been unreal. And this whole year has been more than, I was expecting it to be, in a very positive way. And just the joy I've had of being able to play with this group of guys, and then the experience that my kids, they've been able to have. I got a video from the wife on the way over here from practice, and my middle son Cash was in class today. His teacher took a video of him reenacting the touchdowns that happened this past weekend. So it really, I mean, it's been an unbelievable experience, such a positive experience, and something I'll be able to cherish for the rest of my life, and create these memories for everybody else. And it's definitely been awesome and a blessing.
Well, whatever happens going forward, it's already a happy ending. That's great stuff, AJ. Good for you, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, AJ, man. You made me feel like a bad guy. I went 20 hours away from my family and you was only 3. So I appreciate that, man. My mom's going to hate me now after this podcast.
Well, you both make me feel bad. I had nowhere to go where my parents might come and watch me play. No one wanted me to play anything. They wanted me to sit at the end of the bench. Anyway, let's not get into my stuff. Hey, AJ, congratulations on what you're doing with the XFL and continued success to you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you, man. Good
Always,
luck.
Ryan. Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. You too.
Thanks again to AJ for joining us today. And next up here on the Checkdown, Joe Pesci is back. Let's talk about it, shall we?
Don't call it a comeback.
Time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Checkdown. Shazier, the Eagles made waves during the draft weekend by bringing in as many Georgia Bulldogs as they could possibly find. Are you picking the Eagles to get back to the Super Bowl from a relatively soft NFC? They are a heavy favorite to do so.
Yes, I definitely feel like the Eagles can definitely make a run for another Super Bowl because if you really look at the NFC, I just don't see the competition that they will have to go against like they would if they were in the AFC. The AFC have all the top quarterbacks. They have all the young guns. And the NFC, all the teams over there are good, but nobody really just strikes you like, hey, we're the clear-cut favorite besides the Eagles. And with them getting all those Georgia Bulldogs, like you said earlier, man, Georgia, they had a dynamic defense. They're bringing all those Bulldogs in, and it's just trying to just bring more depth and just versatility to their team. I just think that the Eagles are the clear-cut favorites if they're going to go back to the Super Bowl.
At this point, we got months to go and things happen, injuries and otherwise. But yeah, the San Francisco 49ers, who are the chief rival, it would appear, to get in the way of the Eagles going to the Super Bowl for the second straight year, are led by Sam Darnold. I mean, to put a finer point on what you already said there, all the best quarterbacks are over there, save Jalen Hurts and, I don't know, Dak Prescott you might want to involve in that conversation. But the other big favorite to come out of the NFC is the Niners. And again, I'll say who their quarterback appears to be, Sam Darnold. Color me uninspired.
Yeah, just like if you really think about their top 5 quarterbacks. And some of these guys I do enjoy watching them play. But you would say Jalen Hurts, right? Dak Prescott. Then you have Derek Carr, which Derek Carr was like number 9 on the AFC side. And you will add Geno Smith.
Seahawks might be good. They might be real good this year. But yeah, it does hinge on Geno repeating what he did a year ago.
And then the 49ers, they have everything that you would need on the team, just like the Eagles, to be a great team. But the Eagles have one of the highest paid players in the NFL, and his name is Jalen Hurts. And if he didn't make one mistake in the Super Bowl, they would have won it. While when you look at the 49ers, their starting quarterback, it may be Brock Purdy, maybe Trey Lance, maybe Sam Darnold. You don't really win championships like that. We'll see by the end of the season, but going into the season, I just can't see them beating the Eagles if they play again.
Well, the devil's damashek to everything we just said is Kyle Shanahan. He is the NFL's drawn butter. You can dip any QB into what he's got cooking, and it's going to taste pretty good. Let's see how far he can do that with Sam Darnold. This is a brand new test. He did it with Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy a year ago, so some cause to be
Chris McCaffrey
hopeful.
at quarterback. Yeah, Chris McCaffrey at quarterback. You couldn't do nothing with him.
Touche, Shazier. Hey, a new show called Bupkis aired last week, and it starred Pete Davidson and Joe Pesci. Shazier, let's figure this out. If he were going into the Hall of Fame, you get to choose your hat, what team you're associated with. If Joe Pesci goes into a Hall of Fame, what movie does he roll with as his number 1?
Are we talking about him as in, hey, everybody sees him, or are we talking about as in adult movies? Because if you're talking about everybody sees him, my son even knows who Joe Pesci is, and he's 4 years old. But if you're talking about just adult movies, then, you'll have to talk in, Casino. You'll have to bring in Goodfellas. You have to bring in the is it My Cousin Vinny?
It's your show, Shazier. You make the rules. Do it however you want to do it.
I know I make the rules, so that's what I'm saying. If you're talking about family movies, I'm going to have to go with Home Alone. Because my son even asks us to watch Home Alone. He knows who the guy is with the gold tooth, and he wants to stay away from that guy. But if you're just talking about, hey, movies that I would like to watch and I'm not watching with my kid, I'll probably have to go with Casino.
Goodfellas is his best movie, which is no surprise because it's one of the 2 or 3 best movies in the history of people. But Pesci's death scene in Casino, sorry if I spoiled the end of the movie for anybody, but his death scene is top 5 worst deaths in movie history.
I just can't believe you said top 2 movies of all time.
Well, I stand by it. That's not hyperbole. What's going to beat that besides The Godfather? Come on. Max Duggan was drafted by the Chargers. We covered Max's miracle comeback season with Dan Rubenstein earlier this year. How great is it to see Max find a home in the National Football League, Shazier?
To me, I think it's really awesome that Max found a home. He's very competitive. He's a winner. He's a guy that went into this season, nobody expected anything from him, and he was a Heisman runner-up. So that just lets you know what the Chargers see in him and what TCU seen in him to allow him to get to this moment. But the thing that I really like about this moment for Max Duggan is that he's going to the Chargers, but he's not going by himself. He's also going with his receiver, Quentin Johnson, which is going to allow him to be able to build some type of chemistry with somebody that's in the 2s. Quentin might work his way into the 1s a lot sooner than Max Duggan, because the only way I see Max Duggan working his way into the 1s if something happens to Justin Herbert, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think to be able to practice with your receiver that you were playing with, to learn the playbook together, and then to have somebody that's already a friend of yours get drafted to the same team as you, it makes it a little bit better for him. So I'm really happy to see somebody that, going into this season, TCU was not a team that a lot of people expected a lot from, and they made it all the way to the national championship, and that's because of the back of Max Duggan. So I'm happy to see that he made it to the National Football League.
Yeah, not to patronize the audience. People understand this deep down, but we get sideways and sometimes forget the kids who just get drafted and they're suddenly millionaires and all that, but they're still human, and it's probably makes you nervous going into a new place, NFL stars all over. Did you have anybody when you got to the Steelers that was a pal? Was anybody from Ohio State there, or familiar faces to make you more comfortable?
So it was kind of cool because Stephon Tuitt, me and him trained together the whole draft. And it's so funny because we have a story that I had bought. We went to Men's Warehouse, and we had got our suits for the draft. Not the draft, but for the combine. So I had bought his suit, and then he was supposed to pay me back. But he never paid me back. So he thought he was going to run away and never have to pay me back. And then we get drafted to the same team. And I'm like, bro, you still have to pay me. So we end up working it out. So he didn't have to pay me. He ended up doing something else. But it was like going into a team, it was like, oh, snap. The second round pick is a guy that I was cool with the whole time I was training. And then, we had Cam Hayward, Will Allen, some old Buckeyes that I used to see when I was in school. And they kind of just took me under their wing. And ever since then, they're still like my brothers to this day.
Oh, so let's talk to your brother, Cam Hayward. I'd love to hear his thoughts on the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers in advance of 2023. In the meantime, Mother's Day is making a comeback on May 14th, 5-0. What do you have planned for your mom? Could also ask you about the missus, but let's cover your mom.
So what I have planned for my mom is my mom hasn't seen my youngest son in a year. Well, no, let me say this. She has seen my youngest son. She comes to visit, and she's actually coming to visit me the week after Mother's Day. But the week of Mother's Day, I'm actually taking my youngest son, and we're going down to Florida. And she's going to be able to spend time with my mother and my grandmother, who hasn't seen him in over a year. So we're just going to have dinner at a place called Prime 112 and just have a wonderful Mother's Day.
Wonderful. That is nice. Enjoy that. Happy Mother's Day to your mom, to your wife, and to all the moms out there. And that's it. I don't think we have anything more to say then. That's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Hey, make sure to follow, rate, and review the show on wherever you're listening to us. Go to YouTube, click on the Wondery channel and make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We'll see you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.